right, well, you've done it, or at least you're about to. You are retiring. And like a lot of people, you're probably asking yourself, gosh, am I gonna be okay? Do I have enough money to retire? Am I confident that that money is gonna last for the rest of my life? And those are all good questions to ask. But what happens if you really don't know how much you need for retirement and how long that money is gonna last you? Hi, my name is Danny Beckwith, and today I'm gonna talk to you about how to invest for retirement. And to get us started, I want to talk about a few different concepts to begin. And when you are thinking about investing for retirement, you have to keep in mind that your expenses are going to be growing. And I don't necessarily mean that you're going to increase your lifestyle or you're going to take that new vacation. No, I'm specifically talking about inflation. The price of milk 20, 30 years ago was a lot less than it is today, and that same concept is going to apply to most, if not all, of your expenses in retirement. So let's talk about a 3% inflation year over year, which is about the average, maybe a little more in the United States. And with a 3% inflation, values will double every 24 years. So let's get a quick example. Let's say you're 65 when you are retiring and you spend about $50,000. That means 24 years later, when you're 89, those same expenses are going to be $100,000, which seems like a lot, right? Well, it's just the reality. And that would mean that if your expenses are growing, the source of which you are using money to pay for those expenses also needs to be growing. So that means that your portfolio also needs to be keeping up with inflation in order for it to retain its real value and its buying power. So let's go back to that example that we had where you're retiring at 65, and we're gonna say that you have a $1 million portfolio. Fast forward again to age 89, 24 years later, and that portfolio will need to be $2 million in order for it to retain its same value and buying power. Now, what this really boils down to is a focus on growth and cash flow. You've probably heard of the term growth and income before, but we really want to focus on cash flow because after all, that's exactly what you need in retirement. You need cash flow in order to fund your expenses. But remember, if those expenses are growing over time, you also need to make sure that that portfolio is growing along with it in order for it to retain its real value. Now, you could be saying, you know what, I don't care about retaining real value. I'm totally fine starting with and ending with the exact same amount of money. That's completely fine. But the point is that you still need to have a goal. You need to know how much you need in retirement, and you need to know how much you want to leave at the end of your life. Answer those questions, and then you can determine what rate of return you want to target and how much risk you're willing to accept in the process. And this has to be done with objective analysis. You cannot rely on instinct. Instinct produces failure. You will buy high and you'll sell low, which is exactly the opposite of what we're trying to do. And no better example than in the last couple of market downturns of 2008 and 2020, very recently. People were piling into stocks as markets were hitting new high after new high. And then when everything came crashing down, they sold at the bottom and forgot to buy until the market came all the way back and fully recovered. This is not what we want to do. You have to develop a plan that is set up to weather all storms. And you have to be confident in that plan enough to stick with it even in the middle of that storm. And now I've already said this, but it bears repeating. When you're thinking about investing for retirement, you have to use objective analysis, but you also have to incorporate some predictability and some accountability in that as well. And if you'd like to learn more about how you can invest for retirement, please feel free to contact us. We would love to help you develop the right investment plan for your retirement. Thanks so much.